Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Would you please state your name and spell your last name?
Curt Roberts, Roberts, Canton, Mass.
And how long have you lived in Canton?
Well, 12 years now.
Who, if anyone, do you live in Canton with?
I live with my wife and 2 children.
Your wife, what is your wife's name?
Carrie.
How long have the two of you been married?
We've been married 15 years.
You mentioned you have 2 children, is that correct?
Yes.
How old are your kids?
My daughter is 14 and my son is 12.
Do you work, sir?
I do.
What do you do?
I'm a heavy equipment operator.
How long have you been doing it?
26 years.
Your wife, Carrie, does she work as well?
She does.
What does she do?
She's an executive assistant.
Does you know about how long she's been
I
doing
think about 18 years.
If I could turn your attention to the evening of January 28th, 2022. Do you recall that day?
I do.
Do you recall anything about what you were doing? Do you recall what day of the week it was?
I know it was a Friday night.
And earlier in the day, do you recall anything specific about what you were doing that day?
No, I don't. Nothing stands out.
And at some point in time in the evening, where were you initially?
Excuse me?
So at some point in time in the evening, were you at home?
Yes, I was at home.
While you were at home, who, if anyone, reached out to you?
Michael Camerano and John O'Keefe.
And starting with Michael Camerano, how do you know?
I grew up with him since 6th grade. We're both from the same town, Milton.
So the two of you grew up in Milton together. You've known him essentially since.
Yes.
How would you describe your relationship with Mr. Camerano?
We're friends.
Does Mr. Camerano, does he have any children around the age of your 2 children?
Yes, he has, I believe, a 16-year-old daughter and a 12-year-old son.
His son and your son, did they do any sort of activities together?
They play baseball together.
I mentioned John O'Keefe as well, correct?
Yes.
How did you know John O'Keefe?
When his sister and brother-in-law passed, he had moved into the house that they lived in my neighborhood. My wife knew him previously and introduced me in.
The house that he moved into with regards to where his sister and brother-in-law lived, where was that in relation to where you lived?
In 8th, not far, very easily walking distance, maybe not far.
The house that Mr. O'Keefe moved into, who, if anyone, did he initially live there with when he moved?
He moved in there with the 2 his niece and nephew.
So his niece and nephew from the couple that had passed.
Yes.
You had a niece named Kaylee, is that correct?
Yes.
A nephew named Patrick?
Yes.
With respect to his nephew Patrick, how old was he in relation to your son and Mr. Camerano?
Same age.
As far as the activities,
Same baseball team.
So all 3 of the kids played baseball together for several years.
Yes.
At some point, did Mr. O'Keefe move away from that house, or was
He did. He moved to One Meadows.
from your house? Where was that in relation to your house?
Probably 2 or 3 miles. A lot further away.
A lot further away, sort of up the Silverside Canton, is that correct?
That's correct.
Do you recall about what year it was that the kids moved over to Meadows?
Oh, maybe 2019, maybe? I'm not sure of that.
At some point, of course, through your knowing Mr. O'Keefe, did you come to know someone by the name of Karen? When was it in relation to January 28th, 2022? About how long before that was it that you met Karen?
Probably maybe a year or 2.
About a year or 2 before?
Yes, I don't recall exactly.
Do you recall what it was that you first met?
I think she might have came to my house, maybe with John.
As far as, what, if anything, do you know as far as the relationship between Miss Read and Mr. O'Keefe?
I don't understand.
Who was Miss Read to Mr. O'Keefe?
Oh, girlfriend. Sorry.
Nothing is your fault, it's entirely my question. So, with respect, and just so we're clear as far as we're talking about, do you see Miss Read in the courtroom today?
Yes, I do.
If you could just identify us where she's seated or an article of clothing she's wearing.
Did you see right?
And again, just as a record reflective identification.
Yes.
Thank you. As far as their relationship, that and by day Mr. O'Keefe and Miss Read, is that something that you talked to Mr. O'Keefe about?
No.
Vice versa, as far as your relationship with your wife, is that something that you talked to Mr. O'Keefe about?
No.
With regard to that particular evening, January 28th, you mentioned at some point Mr. Camerano and or Mr. O'Keefe reached out to you.
They did.
What was that, in regard to what was that conversation?
They reached out. They were at McCarthy's, the bar in Canton Center. They wanted me to come up. I didn't want to stay because there was a storm coming. Then he referred and called me a pussy. Sorry. I can't let that happen, so I had to go. I had to go up there. And
Do you recall who it was that called you that?
it was Michael Camerano.
Let the record reflect. Okay. You received that text and you go to CF McCarthy's, is that right?
That's right.
And you mentioned that to Canton Center?
Yes.
About how far a drive is that from your house to CF McCarthy's?
2.5, maybe 3 miles at best.
And do you recall about what time it was that you received that now infamous text and you go make your way to CF McCarthy's?
Yes, it was about 20 past 8.
That you had been to before?
No, not often, but I have been there before.
When you arrive to CF McCarthy's, who, if anyone, that you know is there when you get?
John O'Keefe and Michael Camerano.
If you could, for the jury, just describe what you know of the inside of CF McCarthy's as far as walking the door and what is the layout of the bar.
Walking the door, go to the left, and the bar's right in front of you. It's a big square bar. And then the bathroom's in the back, and there's tables off to the left.
Where in relation to the bar and the tables and what you described were Mr. O'Keefe and Mr. Camerano?
And walking to the left, they were on my left.
The area where you came up to and where they were, is that essentially the same area that you and the group that you were with stayed in for most of the night?
Yes.
If you recall, so you went out to the bar, fair to say you had something, correct?
Yes.
Do you recall what you were drinking that night?
I believe it was Bud Light.
Do you recall whether that was draft
It was a bottle.
That's typically what you would drink when you go out?
Back then, yes.
With regard to Mr. Camerano and Mr. O'Keefe, do you recall what they were drinking that night?
I believe the same. The same as me. I believe. I wasn't much paying attention to that, but that's what they normally would drink.
With the court's permission, if I could publish to the jury portions of what's been marked as Exhibit 50 to see if McCarthy's video.
Okay.
Ms. Gilman, if I could ask for the video. Push it forward to 1 minute and 10 seconds. Pause it there just a moment. Rob, direct your attention to the screen, what's been marked as Exhibit 50. Also, I believe there should be a laser pointer on the desk in front of you. So if you just click on that button and point it in a direction, you can put highlight. So if I could ask you, first of all, do you recognize what's picking up on the screen as Exhibit 50?
Yes.
What do you recognize it, please?
I see John right there and Michael right there.
Does this appear to be consistent with what you recollect as far as the interior of CF McCarthy's on January 20th?
Yes.
This area that you just pointed out to as far as where Mr. O'Keefe and Mr. Camerano is that the area where you testified to they essentially were during the time that you?
Yes, it is.
With respect to Mr. O'Keefe, you can see what he's wearing in this video, is that correct?
Yes.
Clothing, at least as far as you can see, is that the clothing that you observed Mr. O'Keefe be wearing that night?
Yes, that was what he was wearing.
If you could, I would ask us to play this from the 3410 mark until 35. The gentleman that just came in through the door, do you recognize him, sir?
Yes, I do.
And who do you recognize him?
It's me.
So that was about the time that you arrived, is that correct?
Yes.
I'm just going to just continue with another 30 seconds. Directing your attention still up to the screen, Mr. Roberts, there's another individual around yourself, Mr. O'Keefe and Mr. Camerano, is that correct?
Yes.
Do you recognize who that person is?
At the time, I didn't know. He doesn't look the same in this picture right now, but I believe it's Sully.
That's someone at this time on January 28th, you didn't know who that was?
No, I did not.
You now do?
I do now, yes.
Okay. who you know in relation to sort of yourself and Mr. Camerano and Mr.
I know his son plays baseball on my son's baseball team. And I met him that night. We were talking.
This would have been the first time that you had met this person you now know itself.
Yes.
Okay. With reference to this evening, at some point, who, if anyone else came into the bar, joined your group?
Karen Read.
That was sometime after you had initially arrived, is that
I
correct?
believe so, yes. Actually, I'd already been there, I believe.
If I could, from the same exhibit, we're going to the fourth video now. If I could ask you to bring it up to 22 minutes and 20 seconds. As far as Ms. Read, you see Ms. Read in this video?
Yes, I do.
And if you could just use that way to point direct your attention. Where you see Ms. Read?
Right there.
Mr. Roberts, you were, fair to say, a little reluctant to come out that evening, is that correct?
That's correct.
As far as timing, about how long was it that you stayed to see if McCarthy before you left?
It's a good hour. 1 hour.
1 hour or so?
I was home by about 10, 15, I was home.
If you recall, about how many beers did you have while you were there?
Probably 3 or 4.
And what you were drinking, was that, as far as the amount was concerned, was that the same, less, more so than sort of the other people that you were with?
I would think I kind of drank kind of fast because I was taking off. Sure, yes.
What were you drinking fast?
It was a clear glass with probably a lime in it. I'm assuming a vodka tonic, maybe. I'm not positive what it was, but it was a clear glass with, yes.
And about what time was it, again, that you left?
Yeah, I left about 10 o'clock. Took me a few minutes to get home.
And with regard to when you left, did you announce that to anybody, or how did you?
I usually don't because then I'll have to deal with it again, but when we walked out. I did me and Michael Camerano, I believe, about the same time. I might have been a minute or two before him, that's all.
So you exit and leave, and then at some point in time, around the time that you left, Mr. Camerano left as well.
That's right.
This coming from, what's up here is Exhibit 50. If I could ask you to just play from this point, so about 22 minutes and 50 seconds. The camera kind of caught you very good luck, correct?
I believe so, yeah.
So fair to say that was about the time that you left.
I would say.
With regard to, during the time that you were at McCarthy's with this group, including yourself, Mr. O'Keefe, Mr. Camerano, and Ms. Reed, how would you describe the general tone or demeanor of the group while you were there?
Everything very normal. Just a few friends out having some drinks. Nothing that stands out.
No arguing, no anything?
Nope.
And as far as the clothing that I asked you about with regard to what Mr. O'Keefe was wearing, when you were there that night, did you notice anything as far as hairs in the clothing or any dishevelment, anything like that?
No, I didn't notice anything.
When you were there and you were talking to Mr. O'Keefe, what any sort of injuries or anything about him did you know as far as his face or anything else that you could see?
Nothing, no.
Now, once you left, where did you go?
I went home.
Do you recall when you got home? I think you already said it, about what time was it that you got?
But I think 10:15 would be my best guess.
When you got home, who, if anyone else from your house or your family was there?
I believe my wife and kids were there. They're up in bed, but they weren't downstairs.
At some point, did you go to bed that evening?
I did.
And about what time was it?
Saw the snow start coming down. Probably 11:30, 12, maybe midnight.
About the time, you mentioned that you had been aware that there was a storm coming, correct?
Yes.
About the time that you went to bed around midnight or so, what, if anything, did you observe? Did you look outside or see anything?
It was snowing. It was snowing. So
In relation to that, what, if anything, did you hear while you were in the house or making
oh,
your way there?
the wind was hitting the windows. He just knew it was a storm.
You go to sleep with your wife, correct?
That's right. Yes.
And the next morning on the 29th, if anything, is it that wakes you up?
A voice on my wife's phone was yelling, like screaming, frantic. It wasn't, and that woke me up. So I asked, "What is that?"
Initially, did you recognize that voice on your wife's phone?
I didn't recognize it, but I just couldn't make out the words. It was just screaming.
Could you hear anything as far? You couldn't make out the words?
I couldn't make out the word. No.
At some point, did you recognize that voice or come to find out who was on the other end of the phone?
Yes, I did. It was Karen Read.
About what time in the morning was that?
I'd say 5 o'clock would be a good guess.
As far as you wake up and hear the screaming, what happened?
My wife gets up. She starts getting crazy and then putting her clothes on and running out. I'm telling her not to go because the weather was pretty bad at that point. Of course, she goes,
So she doesn't listen to you and she continues to get dressed and go?
yes.
When you say the weather was pretty bad at that point, can you expound upon that as far as what you
It was snowing. It was snowing. It was very windy. It was snowing heavy.
Your wife, Carrie, did she say where she was going?
She said, "John's missing, and I got to go." I don't know exactly what she said, where she was going.
And from the time that you initially wake up around 5 a.m. or so to the screaming on the phone to the time that your wife, Ms. Roberts, leaves your house, how much time elapsed between those two things?
By the time I woke up until she left, I'd say 15 minutes.
When your wife leaves the house and she's driving, is that correct?
She was.
Do you recall which car she took?
She took her car, Ford Explorer.
And that's an SUV, is that correct?
Yes.
Do you recall what color the Ford Explorer was?
It's gray.
After she leaves, when is the next time that you spoke to your wife?
She called me on the phone. I forget. I can't really recall exact times now. They tell me that they found John. He's in the ambulance. They bring him to the hospital. She was going to get Mr. and Mrs. O'Keefe.
By Mr. and Mrs. O'Keefe, who did you want to say that?
John's parents.
Did you know John's parents?
I did.
Did you know where they lived?
I did.
Where did they live?
In Braintree.
So your wife calls you, tells you Mr. O'Keefe's in the ambulance and she's going to Braintree to get his parents.
That's right.
And after you heard that, what is it that you did next?
I believe I snowballed the driveway. Got ready because I knew she was going to come home and in a mood.
Clear your driveway.
So she could, yes, because it was, yes.
When you go out to clear the driveway at the time that your wife calls you, about how much snow was in the driveway at that?
I say there was drifts of at least a foot or so. It was pretty good. It was a lot. Tough to get the car in.
If you know about what time was it that your wife returned home at?
8 o'clock? I don't know exact time.
When you say 8 o'clock, you mean 8 o'clock in the morning or night?
A.M.
8 a.m. Can I have just one moment?
Yes.
No further questions for this witness, Your Honor.
All right, cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Never met, correct?
Correct.
That night that you went out to see F. McCarthy's, where he was pressured or goaded into going out, you did get a chance to observe John O'Keefe at the bar, correct?
I did, yes.
Did you ever see him, did you ever see a puffy jacket around his chair that he was sitting in?
Not that I recall, no.
Did you ever see him holding a puffy jacket?
No.
You noticed on the video, one of the last videos that Mr. Lally played for you, that prior to your making the Irish exit there, you did have some interaction with Karen Read, correct?
I believe so at the end.
You saw that the two of you were at one point face to face.
I did for a brief.
Yes, it was maybe 10 or 20 seconds.
Okay.
That sound fair?
It does.
When you were face to face, you were looking at her and she was looking at you, correct?
Yes.
There was some type of interchange between the two of you.
Maybe I was just saying bye. I don't recall. I
You
don't.
probably don't remember the specifics of
No, I
what
don't.
the conversation was, but there appeared to be some type of small conversation.
I saw it from the video, yes.
While you were speaking to her, you had no indication that she was slurring her words in any way, correct?
I didn't think so, no.
No. Her eyes didn't appear to be bloodshot and glassy, correct?
Correct.
She wasn't swaying or stumbling in any way, correct?
Correct.
She didn't appear to be confused in her thinking or her speech.
She did not.
She appeared to be normal, correct?
Yes.
There was nothing about her demeanor or her interaction with you that would lead you to believe that she was under the influence of alcohol at that time.
And during the time that you spent with them at the bar, you didn't see any evidence of any problems between Karen and John O'Keefe?
I did not.
No arguments or bickering or anything like that?
No.
Neither one of them was complaining about the other, correct?
Correct.
Were you able to see any of the affection between the two of them, either physically or with regard to what they were saying?
I didn't see any of it.
It sounds like you were more concentrated on.
I was talking with the guy.
We're talking with Mike at the bar, but you had known Karen, or at least known of her, and had some interactions with her for, I believe your testimony was about a year or two.
Yes.
During that time, there was some interaction with Karen at your house because there were pickups and drop-offs that had to be made.
Yes.
You would see that Karen had been to your house when you were there, specifically to pick up your son, correct?
Yes.
How often would that occur?
I don't recall. I don't think. Maybe.
She would pick him up to either take him to school or sports or some activity,
I believe
correct?
it was normally like a baseball, maybe. I believe. I don't arrange that stuff. My wife takes care of that, so I don't arrange for the pickups. And it's usually my wife does that, so I can't tell you exactly what it was for.
No, I understand. I'm just getting the fact that you were present when these pickups occurred.
Yes.
That would be because Karen was shuttling either Kaylee or Patrick to.
Correct.
When there was an intersection specifically with regard to Patrick and your son, she would take both of them, correct?
Yes.
From your observations of Karen Read during that 1 or 2 years that you would come into contact with her, the contact you had was mainly surrounding what happened with the kids, correct?
Yeah, I would say. Yeah.
And she appeared to be responsive, correct?
Objection, Your Honor.
Objection sustained. Asking differently, Mr. Yannetti.
Sure. She appeared to be caring for the kids, did she not?
Objection.
Overruled.
Reproach.
Okay. Jurors, feel free to stand up and stretch.
One question for you, just to alter the last question that I asked you. From your read on this, it appeared to you as though Karen was caring for the kids and caring about them, correct?
Correct.
Nothing.
Okay. Any follow-up, Mr. Lally?
Briefly, just one question, sir. As far as your observations of Ms. Reed in regard to Mr. O'Keefe, in regard to the children, that was what you observed, correct?
That's right.
As far as what, if anything, went on behind closed doors or in the relationship, you weren't really privy to that?
I was not.
Okay. Nothing further.
All right, Mr. Roberts, you are all set, sir. Thank you. Your next witness, Mr.
Yes, Your Honor, call to call Ms. Rebecca Traers to the stand.